Welcome back to 2BeLikeChrist. In today's video, let's talk about Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. This statement is made by Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, and he lays out two paths for the human life to take. The first path is a wide and easy road. It's easy to walk down, you're not going to trip over anything, and there's a lot of people going that way. You're not going to lack any company if you're walking there. At the end of that wide road, there's a gate. And the problem with the wide road is that the gate opens to eternity, and on the other side of the gate, there's destruction. But he also lays out a second pathway, and that's a smaller, more narrow pathway. And he says that it's difficult to walk on and to find it. And there may be things that will try to trip you up and hazards there. But the gate at the end of that road leads to eternal life. Jesus is calling for a short-term sacrifice in this life to walk the narrow road for an eternity of enjoyment with you and God. What's unfortunate, though, is that Jesus actually tells us that most people will not make this sacrifice because most people are too nearsighted to do it. What's strange about that is that most people are capable of seeing the benefits of making the sacrifice when it comes to decisions they make in their physical lives. Let me give you an example. For those of you who watch this channel on Facebook, you probably already know this, but my viewers on YouTube may not. I was married about 10 months ago, last December, and 3 days after I was married, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. And we had to face a decision at that point. Two roads, one easy, one hard. The easy road was to ignore the diagnosis. My wife felt fine, she said she didn't even feel sick, and we wanted to enjoy our first year of marriage, to go on trips on the weekends and enjoy that honeymoon period. The second road was one that was a little bit more difficult, and that was to have surgery and then to go through 9 months of chemotherapy and just to have a generally rotten year. And we evaluated that decision on a long-term perspective. We looked at that and we looked at the easy road and said, yes, we could enjoy this year, but what happens at the end of that year is what we don't want. And that was that the cancer would spread throughout her body would be destroyed, and she would lose her life. The hard road was not the way that we wanted to spend our first year of marriage, but we understood that if we sacrificed the first year, then her body could be rid of the cancer through the procedures and through the treatments, and that ultimately at the end of that road, she would have her life, and she would be healthy again. One was a decision that could have been made based on short-term pleasure versus long-term wisdom. And of course, for almost everyone, that isn't even a decision. Right? Almost everyone goes through the treatments, especially when you're young, goes through the treatments to preserve their lives for the future. That seems so blatantly obvious to us. But we have difficulty applying that back to our spiritual lives and looking not just to the long term in the physical life, but the long term in regards to eternal life after we die physically. Jesus is calling us to make the same decision, and it should be just as obvious to us which one we're going to choose. We're going to choose to find the narrow road and walk down that road no matter how hard it is, because eternal life with God is waiting just on the other side of the gate.